Dave here with Half Dozen Customs. I'm back out here on the Jeep today. I did do some work earlier off camera. Just picked up where we had left off the other day. So we got the fuse box mounted in there. I notched a little hole at the top of the fuse box, just a half a circle to run the wire through for the OBD2 sensor. So we got that mounted in there. Got all the wiring kind of tucked up underneath the dash temporarily. We will probably, tuck some of this up a little higher. Got the gas pedal speed controller thing mounted up underneath there, and the wiring ran for that. Just kind of got it all cleaned up under there. Super happy with it. It looks great. I put our templates back in. I did our measurements. I measured from the front to the gear shift, from the back to the gear shift, from this side to the gear shift, from that side to the gear shift. Got me a center point. Cut out a 4-inch circle. So they have two different kinds of boots for this. I'm not sure which one we're going to get yet. They have a 4-inch circle boot. And then they have like a 4-inch by 5.5-inch rectangle boot that you can get. So I just did a 4-inch hole saw in there to get us through. Everything clears. No problemo. We are good. I'm happy with that. We are ready to next thing what I'm about to do right now is we are going to tape these together, and then I am going to cut along here on both sides, making this piece of our floor thing part of this. So once I get that taped up and we cut it, we're going to transfer this over to metal tonight and get them cut out. We might do some bead roller action. We shall see. But I'm gonna get you guys set up on the stand. Like I said, we're gonna tape this out and get it cut and transfer it over to metal. So let's get to it. All right. I think this is going to be the first piece we start with. So we got we got this part of the floor kind of curved because there's a curve in the factory floor. I'm going to cut through this in a couple of spots so that it'll lay flat for us. I think the rest of this we are good. So what we'll do is we'll lay this on a piece of metal, we'll chase around it, maybe cleaning up some of the edges on the metal. Once we get it, we'll go back and retrace it with the straight edge, cut it out, and then we got to put a couple of bends in it. These side pieces, I'm gonna end up probably adding a 1/2 inch to each side, because I wanna put a bend up for the other floor panel to actually sit on, and we can drill some holes and spot weld it. So we're gonna add a little to each side, and hopefully we'll be good. Let me get the metal set up over here, and we'll go from there. Be right back.
There you go.
All right, so we got the metal out. I got it wiped down. We're just throwing some magnets out to hold these things down. We kind of got them spaced out to where we're trying to leave larger chunks of metal for us to use on other stuff. So the way that we got this laid out, we got a good square there, and then we got some strips that go around it. The centerpiece will have to be done on that sheet over there, which is a new sheet. So we were not able to get all 3 pieces on this one, which I knew that we weren't. We built a glove box out of this. And I think there was something else. The floor patch, a couple of floor patches in there were cut out of this piece, so.
You got enough space in between there now?
Yeah. So now we're just going to mark it out and get it cut.
What are you doing?
I put them in the wrong way so they stuck to each other.
Leaving extra? Are you cutting on the line? How did you set this up?
Well, it was a pretty good fit, but I'm thinking that I'm gonna just cut, probably on the outside of the line.
Are you going to need any extra for your X's that you're putting in? Where do your X's go?
Well, there's one that goes like here on each side.
Do we need to put those in and then redraw it on there?
I don't think so. We're gonna use the littlest one, and I think we'll be okay, especially with cutting on the outside of the line. And then the one,
It's only like a little.
yeah, it's just a little, like there's a little line and a little line. So
Okay.
I think we'll be okay with cutting on the outside of the line. Now this one over here, I do want to leave.
Flappage?
Huh?
Flappage?
I want to leave a 1/2 inch on each side so that we can put a flange for these to sit on.
I remember.
So we gotta add a 1/2 inch on each side to what we have there.
What are you gonna use to cut this out?
Whiz wheel.
Oh yay. I will keep my eyes closed.
You want your safety spectacles?
They're right there.
There are some safety spectacles. These two marks will get bent down, but I want to run along this back edge here. I want to run it through the bead roller and put a step in it before we do that bend. No, not SD card battery.
Humidity.
Yeah. Human titties.
What? What?
Human titties.
No. What are you doing?
This to clean up the circle.
I knew I should have put a test piece through.
You had a piece right behind you. Why didn't you just grab it?
You said no. This. Are you going to tuck along the sides too, or just the center?
just across the back, and we need to do it on those as well. What goes around that seat bucket. So I want it to sit down so when we go underneath, I can just smooth in that line with seam sealer and it disappears. So that way when you look underneath the truck, you don't see, you know, you don't see a seam there, like two pieces of metal sitting on top of each other. It'll have a drop down to it so that it butts up nice. Almost like that air tool that I have that puts a step in it so that you can overlap and butt weld them. You know, I'm just gonna go, you know, we're just gonna put some holes along here and I'm just gonna spot weld it. But this gives it, instead of it just sitting on top of the metal, it's gonna give it a lip to drop into. Okay, let's try that.
Okay.
We got it this time.
You want to put a piece of metal?
Huh?
You want to put a piece of metal through?
That works.
Let's go put it in there.
Uh-huh.
Let's go put it in there.
You want to put it in there?
Yeah.
No, this one looks like it's good. This one needs to move in like a quarter of an inch.
And then this guy here.
Needs to be trimmed. Probably back to the line that I had there.
Then you think your line will line up.
Huh?
Then you think your line will line up because it's way over here, right? So he's sitting too high up here?
Yeah, it's sitting too high up there.
Oh, okay. Okay.
Oh, we gotta bend, it's a 1/2 inch too high, we gotta bend these flaps.
Do you want to say goodbye from there? Or are you doing more?
No, I think we're done for the night. I think it's looking good. I mean, we're cutting it close in a couple of spots, but I think a little bit of grinding and some adjusting, we can squeeze some out of it, and I think we'll be just fine. So tomorrow's another day. We'll do some more trimming and test fitting, and hopefully we get, hopefully in the next couple days this floor's in. So we left off with getting some floor panels made, which is looking good so far. Where we're at, down here, so we got a nice edge bent down here for our floor pan to sit on, and we can spot weld along there, and I think we're looking good. But this corner and that corner are rounded. The floor from the factory had a round edge down here at the bottom, kind of like the top did, and we didn't do that. We did a straight edge. So we need to round that corner so that it fits snugly up against the floor pan that's originally there, and same thing with the back. You can see that we're up a little bit on this lower brace guy here. Now I can get up underneath there and push up on that brace a little bit, and I can push down on the floor. So, but what I'm looking at down here, see if I can get down underneath here and take a peek. So let's see, what are we looking at here? So what we're looking at between these wires here is this floor. So we got the top bend right, but this bottom bend is not right. So, and we got the same thing here as well. So like I said, I can pull this down, but we need to round just at the front and the back. We need to round those edges so that it will drop down just a little extra. Like I said, I can push down on it, but we're hitting into those round edges with our square edge, and it's stopping it from going any farther. So on the other side, we don't have that because more of the floor got cut out. This is the only side that we really got to worry about that. Now we may add the round edges on the other side. Well, we got to in the back, of course, but the front is gone. So we are going to have to do some hammering and some tucking and shrinking and stuff like that in the corner on the driver's side. So when we get to that point over there, we'll deal with that and make everything work. Right now I'm gonna work on getting this passenger side. I'm gonna take this piece out. We're gonna bring it over to the table. I'll get you guys set up on the camera over there, and let's just start rounding those edges. Some of it needs to be trimmed, but we don't know what needs to be trimmed yet until we round those edges, get it fitting good, and then we can mark it and trim it. So let's work on that first. I'm a little off today. I came out here this morning. We cleaned up our mess from last night, and I got some much needed tools fixed. Had a couple of drills that were broken that I repaired and got working. One was a cord, one was the brushes, and then my chop saw, not the metal one but the one for wood actually, that one needed new brushes as well. So I put brushes in that, cleaned up the shop, got everything going good. Last night I started not feeling good. I kind of got a little bit of a sore throat, kind of achy today, and I have zero energy. So we are a little later in the evening. I've just been kind of dragging ass all day. Not really feeling it, but I want to get something, at least something fitting a little better on the passenger side tonight. Like I said, we're going to start with rounding those edges, and then hopefully the flat panel that goes in there, you guys seen last night that it's kind of sitting in there crooked, so we need to do a little trimming on that and get that straightened out. Hopefully we can maybe get to that tonight too. So we know this edge needs to be trimmed up, and we need to roll all of this. So this side we're not going to mess with yet, but we're going to do this side. Let's start with we're going to start with this guy. Alright, let's go see if we fit a little better. You can see now, instead of a straight corner, we got a rounded corner. Same thing with the front. Instead of a straight edge, we got the rounded corner. You know, we know that this back edge needs to be done as well over here, so let's do that side too. Okay, so you can see we're fitting much better there, much better up at the front, for sure. What I'm gonna do now, I'm gonna get some vice grips. We're gonna kind of vice grip and clamp some stuff down in place, and I'm gonna try and go underneath and mark what we need to trim off right here. So I think we're gonna put a couple of self tappers here. So there's a little bit of a gap here. I'd like to see if maybe we can do a little clamping, or maybe a little hammering and doweling. I really need some longer clamps. We are right there. Ain't gonna need to be much trimming, I don't think. Oh yeah. Okay, so I would really like to be able to hammer some of this from the bottom, and I cannot because the transmission's in my way. So I think when it comes time to like finally weld this bad boy in, we are darn close to that. I guess I could mark this and we can just cut that out, and then I don't have to worry about so much of the curve that's in that right now. That side over there is gone completely, so we could just have a nice weld going down there and be done with it and not have to worry about so much of the roll. Or we can take it back out and I can roll this edge over some. We know that we need a little bit of a roll in there. You know, kind of how we rolled this edge here. If we continue to roll this edge, it might fit a little nicer, because underneath there's a roll that goes right in here from the factory. Do we need that roll? Technically, no. We got a little bit of a gap here, but I think a jack underneath there with a 2x4 up against the bottom of this and just push this up, because this is, I mean, it's not tied to nothing, so it can be, we can put a little pressure on it. We need to, you know, everything gets spot welded to this, so I think when it comes time to put spot welds in, we'll put some pressure up against it and we'll spot weld everything and it'll stay there. Or it'll pull the floor down, one or the other. Well, I'm definitely happier with the fitment there. Let's so we know along this edge here and around this corner, I'm gonna say that we need to take like a 1/4 inch off. So let's work on that, I guess, next, and see if we can get this guy fitting a little better. So all I did was pretty much take off the magic marker line. Let's go test fit this and see if we're doing a little better. Oh, let's clean up this edge a little here too. So we're looking better, but we need to round up that corner right there. Maybe a little more out of here. Fitting better there. We're fitting better up there. I think we may still end up having to take a little bit more off. If you look, like, you know, there's a 1/4 inch gap there, and here, you know, we're right on the end. So I think we can safely say that we can take some more off of this here. We got it. There's a big lip that this sits on all the way around it. So, you know, I think we can take some off here and be, you know, if we have movement back and forth, you know, we're good. Okay, we are looking good. I marked some more spots that we're going to trim up. Okay, so here we are. Super happy with it so far. You can see how much we brought this in. If you remember, it was right along this edge, so we brought it in, you know, a good ½ inch. Close up the front here. So underneath this floor, you can see that there's an inside and an outside to this rocker. I think we are going to end up trimming along here and allowing it to drop flush up against this rocker. We can either then go ahead and just weld this up nice and solid going all the way across, or we can just put a thing of seam sealer there. That'll be fine too. We'll be able to spot weld going along on the inside piece and then just seam seal it. That would be fine. I think we need to trim a little off up here on the top. Are you guys looking? Pay attention. I'm talking to you. So I think we need to trim a little off up here, just so that this sits. We got nice. We're up against here, real nice. You know, we still got to put our bead roll in. I think if I push this any farther forward that way, for one, we're going to start opening up this gap here, which we don't want to. And we're going to start opening up this gap here, which we don't want to. I mean, we're almost right on the money there. So I think the next thing we'll trim is we'll trim up this, and then we'll trim along here, so that this drops down flat in there. The ones that were here before that somebody else made, I had actually put them in the brake because we were originally going to use them, and I had originally put them in the brake, and I put a bend along here so that it dropped down over this edge and came up real nice here. I don't think we're gonna need to do that. Like I said, we're gonna drop it down and make it flush and flat. I think that'll be nice. Trim that little bit here. I think this will drop down a little, then I won't have to push it, it'll just drop. And then we gotta get underneath, and we gotta mark it, and we're gonna have to trim on here. Up here I left it long because there's actually, you guys looking? Underneath this metal, there's actually a rot hole that comes up right here. It's all rusted out. I haven't cut it out yet. So we're gonna end up like cutting this across and down, and then we'll cut along, and put our new floor in. Or, you know, as long as we're not getting into this X that's here, I want to keep this X. You know, maybe we can trim a little off of this floor here, set this down, mark it along the old floor, and then cut the old floor and use our nice new bend in there. So we'll see. I'm gonna sleep on it and think about our next move. I think maybe another hour tomorrow, and this side will be ready to put in the bead roller, and we'll put our flange around the outside edge here like we did on the center, and then we need to it needs to get like an X. The X is going to be like somewhere in here, something like that, that'll match that guy up there. So you know, I wanted to come in and bead roll and do all this stuff and make it look really cool in here. But for one, you know, my buddy that owns the truck, he's been very adamant about trying to keep it as stock as possible. I know there's nothing stock about this truck, but we have tried to keep the appearance of stock. So we're gonna stick with that appearance of stock. And you know, it'll save time. It's not, we don't have to go through and you know, do all this extra really cool work. It'll save some time, and it'll still do what it needs to do. So I'm liking it. I think it looks good. So we will we'll see tomorrow. We'll do some more tomorrow. Like I said, hopefully we can get some bead rolling in there tomorrow. And maybe start working on getting that driver's side fit. We may actually work on getting the driver's side fit before we do some bead rolling, because I'm gonna need to wait for Colleen to get off of work for us to do some bead rolling. So okay, so this is our mark that we just cut out. This is kind of where the floor lays. If I was to cut on that, we would be short. I think it's more up here. It's just not touching. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to connect, because we want to leave this factory curve, or we want to leave this curve that we have going on in the floor here. So I think we're going to cut that off like so. And hope for the best. So we know that our stock floor is landing somewhere in here. So if we cut down here, that's still leaving extra, and I'm hoping that we will be able to then lay this floor in here, and as long as we're below that X that's in there, we can mark the stock floor, cut the stock floor out, and this should fall right in place then. At least it's the idea. We're looking good. I'll show you guys in a minute. I think we need to, if you guys remember in last night's video, I talked about taking just a little bit of this edge off here. Okay, I think we're looking good. You know, I pushed this down, I marked it. You know, I think that we can cut this pre-existing floor out of there now. But I'm gonna think about this for a couple minutes here before I make any rash rash decisions. You know, we need to put this bead in that's gonna follow all the way around to over here. And we still need to put this X in. So, if anybody knows anything about bead rolling or have watched some of my previous videos, when you put a bead in, it takes that metal from somewhere. It's going to take that metal from the rest of the panel, and it's going to kind of into that X and into that back piece. It's going to suck some metal in. So before I get too crazy with trimming and cutting, I think we are at a spot now where it fits and I'm happy, and we need to trim to make it 100% fittable. And you know, I worry that if I make it 100% fit correctly and then we go and we do our bead rolling, all of a sudden it's not going to fit. So before we do anything else, let's do the bead rolling, and we'll come back, we'll recheck everything, see if we shortened up a little bit, and we'll do our final trimming and test fit. So once we get to that point and it's our final test fit, we may get it put in place and maybe screw down that floor pan in a couple of spots, maybe up where it rolls up into the firewall where your feet would sit. There's nothing to screw to there, so maybe put a couple of a tack or two up there just to hold it in place, and then we can come over and start working on the driver's side. So like I said, I'm gonna think about this for a couple minutes, not too long, because I want to get back to work. I just want to make sure I'm making the right decisions and headed the right direction. So I'll be back. Okay, so you see me do some bending and some tweaking and some pulling, and now if you look in there, you can see what I was trying to accomplish here. So I think once we get this in here just a little bit better, I think I got some hammering and dollying to do. We need to mark where this sits, and then the center needs to come out, and the center needs to roll up this way into our panel here. So yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Does look like we need to do a little trimming here to make that fit a little better. So you can tell we're tight here, especially in this back corner. We're tight, but I think we're headed in the right direction. We're looking pretty good. You know, I think that we may need to maybe stretch it out a little bit in the English wheel, and maybe a little hammering and dollying in this area. You can see we kind of got an extra kink in there. But other than that, I think just, you know, that quick little adjustment that we made is like right on point there. So we're getting close to that one, you know, fitting decently. You know, definitely a lot more to go on it, but you know, just a little bit of time that we spent, it went from sitting up against that red chair to being in the truck. So I don't think that was a half hour, so that wasn't too bad. You know, like I said, definitely more to go, but I'm gonna take a break. It's almost lunchtime here. Actually, it's past lunchtime. And you know, Colleen did say she was gonna come out and help me, so I'm gonna see where she's at. We may not do this move forward until after lunch, so I'll see y'all later. Okay, now that we got this thing fitting nice, that top edge that I was saying, like, we got cut three or so inches off it. Now it's only like 3/4 of an inch that we need to cut off, but I got that fitting. I got that fitting real nice there. I think. I think it looks really good, and I was thinking about rolling, you know, this on. I was thinking about rolling that, but I think we might be able to just cut it and weld it. I mean, we got our roll in this piece. So I think it looks good. I'm happy with it. I'm gonna crawl underneath right now and just see what we got going on underneath there and how it looks, and we will make a decision from there on what we're gonna do next. Well, that was a little tricky, but we got it done. A little bit of some. Yeah, I'm sure it would be fine, but I can maybe do a little hammer in there. I just couldn't reach either side. I couldn't reach that, so good. I'm happy with that.
And we just have to put that other X on there, so right?
Yeah, there's just
Okay.
the half of the X. So, and I don't think that. Once I get it cut and fit in there,
Okay.
I gotta wait till, like, when we're ready to weld it, that's when we'll do it.
Can I switch the dies? Switch the dies, guys. What's over there?
Yeah, what a little sneaker. First time I ran into needing a deep throat. since you put it that way. So. Too far.
Whoever put this thing together put these in our like worst spots.
Right. That was the factory.
I thought you put all this stuff together.
Maybe. I don't know.
Yeah, the location of the gears and the crank bob. I bet you that was you.
Maybe, I don't know. I thought it came mostly put together. This side's smaller.
Okay.
This one we're good at. No deep throat needed here.
No what?
Deep throat needed here.
Oh.
Well, they call it when you get the bigger one. It's called. This is your throat, and this is like I think it's an 18-inch throat, and then you can get a deeper throat.
I get it. I know why you said it. I didn't hear you what it was that you said.
2 and a quarter. Okay, go ahead. So we need to mark along here, and this needs to be cut. Not only does this need to be cut, but we got to cut up here. So I think we're going to start with this guy. What I'm going to do is I'm going to mark on the truck, because once this is in, I can't see where it is that I want it cut. And I actually think that what I want cut is not perfectly straight, so let's check. So we need to cut along this line, and I really think that this is curved. But once the panel's in here, I can't see where that line is, so we're just gonna put a mark at each side so that we can lay this metal back in here and know where it is that we need to cut. Alright, so now we got our 2 marks. Like I said, there is a curve to this. I know there is. So I'm going to try to mark it with the curve in there. Cut it. Yeah, that sounded good. Whatever it was, it didn't come by here. I'm gonna go get Colleen so she can hold one end. We can kind of put this at a bow and mark it. So I'll be right back. So that right there, we're getting held up on the weld that the rocker's welded to the cab with. So I just shortened it up a little bit so we can clear that weld. Okay, that was a lot of back and forth grinding, but we fit inside that line now. Now what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to go from this mark that I made right here to about here, and we're going to put it in the brake, and we're going to put a slight break in it. Just a very little break. Just something to kind of angle that metal down. The way that the rocker is, the metal is actually sitting on the back part of the rocker before it gets to the spot where I'm trying to butt it up, and it's holding that metal up just a little bit. So if we put a little bit of a break in it and just bring this metal down, it should line up to where I want to butt weld it. You know, I don't know if we're going to weld that solid. I think we're just going to end up putting you know, a bunch of tacks going across, and then we'll grind them smooth, and then we're going to seam seal it. I think that that's what we're going to do. I think trying to weld it up all the way across, we're just going to make that floor. So a couple little tacks, and I think we'll be good. All right, I'm going to go get the missus and have her help me do this brake real quick, and we'll be back. So I took this little corner here and I kind of bent it up. We're gonna see how it fits. We have the floor bends this way, so I bent this way, and I'm hoping that they'll lay in nice together, and then we can just cut through the two of them together, or mark it and cut it, whatnot, and make it fit nice and flush. So I took that center piece out to, there was seam sealer built up underneath it that was holding it up. So I cleaned all that seam sealer out. Still got a little bit of a high side there. I think we'll be okay. Alright, so I marked out about where we can start to get this floor. I'm a little above the cut. I'd rather cut twice or multiple times. I'm thinking that that's it. Let's hope. Like I said, I'd rather cut it twice than be too short. So we shall see. think this side is ready to paint. The underside. So all our holes landing on metal, we're good. So I had to drill those holes first because once it's painted, I can't mark on it with the magic marker and see it. And I really don't want to use a pick to scratch it. So those holes we drilled now, and then after they're painted, I'll have to go back with a drill and just kind of clean up the holes so that we have some fresh metal. It's really not that huge of a deal. I mean, I've burned through less paint, or burned through more paint, however you want to say that. So we'll be just fine. But I drilled those first because once it's painted, it's harder to mark and you know, see where you're gonna drill your holes unless you got a white marker, and I don't have a white marker. So, but yeah. So I think the other side, we got to cut that floorboard now. I think before I cut that floorboard, I'm gonna get a jack underneath that brace and see if we can push that brace up so that it meets the floor. And as long as we can do that, then we'll cut the floorboard. If we can't jack it up, or I'm unhappy with the way that it looks when it's jacked up, we'll go from there. So I'm gonna leave you guys off for a minute. I'm gonna get the jack, go underneath, jack it up, see what we got, and I'll be back. Alright, so this is the passenger side. I got jack underneath that brace and I jacked up on it. It instantly started picking up the entire truck. For a brace that's only connected on one side of the vehicle, I did a darn good job tying it into that side of the vehicle because it lifted the whole vehicle. So I think it did move up some, not much. There was a lot of creaking and cracking from a whole lot of different areas. So I was able to get in there and push down with both my hands and push it down where I wanted it, and then I was able to reach underneath there and feel that brace, and it's now touching that brace. If the floor is just sitting in there and I'm not touching the floor, you know, we still got a 1/4 inch gap between it. But as soon as I put my hand on the floor and push it down, there's at least a good amount of it that we can get some spot welds in. As we get closer to the tunnel, you know, we may not be able to spot weld up against the tunnel, and it may just get some seam sealer to fill in the 1/4 inch gap that's there. But we'll be able to get some welds in it, which is good. So I pulled this back out. We're gonna coin these ends of this X here. Me pushing down on the floor kind of changed the mark, where the mark was going to be, for us to cut along the existing floor that's in there. So I remarked that. So we'll coin this real quick and then we'll go cut that, and we should be ready to mark this thing out for some holes. Okay, got those coined out. Good. Let's see. We also need to mark this and put that bend in it. Maybe we'll do that first, just in case something changes with that line up there. Put this back in and mark it. I gotta trim this edge again like we did on the other side. I'm not gonna make you guys watch me do this twice. I'm gonna try and put. I'm going to try and put less of a bow in it than I did on the other one. So we got that marked out. We'll cut that now. And I'll see you guys back here in a little bit. I'm gonna cut this, see how well we fit, make it fit, blah blah blah, this, that, the other. We'll put that bend in it, a little hippity hoop blah, and we'll be ready to cut the front. Then I can have Colleen come out when she helps me do this bend here. I'll have her push down on it in the floor, and I'll mark it for our holes that we need to drill. And yeah, we'll be rocking and rolling. All right, everything is cut, drilled, fit, ready to weld. So next is paint. I'll paint the underside of it. Got D8 all down with 80 grit, and then get that painted. And like I said, we got to do PR 15, like top of the frame. You know, I was kind of bummed that we weren't pulling the cab off because we're doing the whole frame, and then we decided to do the floors, and now I can get to the top of the frame with the floors out, so that worked out. So yeah, we'll get all that stuff PR 15. I'm gonna try and get it done tonight. We'll see. We are coming up to 10 o'clock right now, so I think by the time I would be done with everything, it'll be 1 in the morning. We'll try. I'm gonna go see what's going on in the house. I know that Colleen's been cooking all evening and I gotta do dishes, so I think I'm gonna head in and go do the dishes real quick, and then we'll come back out here. See you guys soon. We're working on getting these ready to weld in. One of the things that we had to do, I've mentioned in the other videos, is we got to paint the underside. So I didn't film some of it because you know it could get boring after one piece. So, but we got that piece is done up there, all cleaned and painted. This piece over here is done, all cleaned and painted. So that's just the underside of it. It's gonna get undercoated anyways, but I just wanted everything protected, so that way when we're putting these metals together, there's not you know, bare metal overlapping bare metal. And for me to just go around and paint the edges that are gonna overlap, like you would end up with spots, you know, that aren't painted like this big. So I just painted the whole thing. And then once it gets all put together, we'll go underneath, we'll scuff it all up, we'll seam seal everything, and then we'll undercoat it. Undercoating probably won't get done till after the truck is painted, but these are just steps in the process that need to be taken prior to getting to that point. So what I've been doing to kind of clean these up, and this is crazy. I mean, you guys see how you know, they call this flashing or hot spots. And this is just, you know, three or 4 days sitting out in the shop. This metal was brand new when I made these panels. And it's been like 4 days since I've made these panels. And this is what they look like already. I've said it in other videos, like the moisture that is in this area is just crazy. you know, I was born and raised in the Chicagoland area. I've been working on cars almost my whole life, and I've never seen it this bad. I mean, don't get me wrong, you still get this even out in Chicago, but not like this, and not within 4 days. I mean, like, this is just crazy. So it sucks, but it's something that I'm getting used to dealing with. It's just gotta keep everything clean, and you gotta get some form of paint or primer on it, like, immediately. So we're getting the underside painted, and then once I get these in the vehicle and they're welded in, we're gonna prime the inside of the vehicle so that it doesn't do this again. I've been using this wire wheel. I've been using the Bauer refinisher and 80 grit on a DA to get them all cleaned up. So here we go. Okay, so we got it all cleaned up and sanded down. I'm just wiping it down with some pre-cleaner. Make sure, you know, for one, we get all the sanding dust off, but for two, there's still the oils that are on this metal from the warehouse that keep it from rusting. So we gotta make sure that those are all wiped off and it's nice and clean. So that's part of the problem why this flash rust so fast, is because when we were making these, we marked all over them with magic marker, making our measurements and this and that. And after we had them all in, I went through with some lacquer on a rag and cleaned off all the magic marker marks and wiped off all the oils that are on there protecting the metal. And that's, you know, part of the reason why it flash rust. If I wouldn't have done that, we still would have had some from me touching it in some spots, but it may not have been, well, it wouldn't have been as bad if I wouldn't have cleaned those oils off. But those oils got to get cleaned off eventually. It just sucks that, like, you know, 4 days later it turns into what it did. So we'll have to do this again, what we just did on the outside. Like, once it's all welded in and whatnot, you know, over the next week it's just gonna flash rust again. Now the bottom side won't, because we got it all cleaned up and we're getting ready to put some 2-in-1 on there. But the top side will. But next time that we go to clean it up, it'll all be welded in the vehicle, and should be a little easier to clean, being that it's all held in, instead of me having to try and clean it on the table and hold it with one hand and the machine with the other. So we gotta get this under lip here too, because the floor sits on this lip. So not only do we have to paint the inside, but we gotta get this lip under here as well. I'm gonna give that a minute just to dry and make sure that all the pre-cleaner has evaporated and dried up. before we put any paint on. Be right back. Okay, we're back after giving that a couple minutes. And again, I'm just using my 2-in-1. It's just Rust-Oleum paint and primer mix. I've explained it in other videos. This is just to protect the metals so that they don't rust. Mainly in between where I'm going to be welding. And I would not be using this anywhere where it would be getting automotive paint. Because this is all going to be getting undercoated, you know, I feel comfortable using this stuff. It's just being used as a protectant. It works really well and it's cheap. Instead of me going through and painting and priming all this stuff and spending, you know, a couple $100s in product, I'm able to do the same thing for, you know, 20 bucks. So it's well worth doing this on like the underside of stuff where it's going to be getting undercoated. So now, if we were going to be, if I was to be pulling this cab off of the frame and we were going to flip the cab up on its back and we were going to paint the whole underside of the cab to match the truck, I'd be priming this. But since we're not doing that, we're just going to undercoat it. This is fine. We were gonna paint the bottom side of the bed. We were gonna prime it and paint it, and then I was gonna put the floor in. But I think it would look odd, being that we didn't pull the cab, and we're not doing that to the cab. So I don't think we're gonna do it to the bed, because it would just look. I think it would look odd, being that the underside of the bed is painted to match the truck, but the underside of the cab is not. You know, it was a discussion that we had. I was thinking that we were going to do it. You know, we've had the cab pretty much off because I redid all the body mounts and whatnot. But my buddy that owned the truck did not want to pull all the steering out and all that stuff to take the cab off. So we didn't go that far. So it's getting undercoated. So all that matters is that all the rust is fixed, it's all protected, it's all coated, it's all brand new, it'll look good, it'll last a long time. I think we're good to go. So, enough chit-chatting. This needs to sit for a little bit, and then I'm gonna put a couple more coats on it, and then we'll be done. I'll be back to show you guys the finished product and talk about what we're gonna do next. So. Alright, so we're back. I got 3 coats on it. I just finished it, so it'll lay out a little bit flatter, but I'm not really worried about orange peel at all because it's getting undercoated anyways. We got that bottom lip down there done as well, so that way when the floor pieces sit on top of that to get welded in, there is no bare metal anywhere. It's a painted surface to a painted surface. Now, of course, you know, when we go to do the spot welds in there, you know, there's going to be that spot that's not protected. Everywhere that there's a spot weld, it won't be protected because it's going to burn the paint away. But at least the whole thing is not like that. It's just that little bit. So, next, what we're going to do is, so this motor's got to come back out. So I think we're gonna work on pulling the motor next and getting the motor back out of here. I think the motor from here, the only reason that I really had the motor in here was to, for one, to build the floor around the transmission and make sure that, you know, if I was to put the stock dimension floor back in here, that it wasn't going to interfere with the transmission or the shifter or anything like that. We accomplished that. We were able to keep the floor at the stock dimensions and make it clear everything. so we were good. I didn't have to raise nothing or modify anything. And we were running all the electrical, making sure all the electrical was good. So we know all the electrical is good, we know the floor is good, motor can come out, and from here, it's supposed to be going to a motor shop to have it's supposed to be having the cam put in it and head work done, and then they're going to reprogram the computer and they're going to tune it and this and that. That's what's supposed to be going on. I don't know. My buddy who owns the Jeep, he's going to pick it up. He was talking about maybe doing the cam and the heads himself and then taking it and have it tuned. So I don't know. Once it leaves here, it's going to have some motor work done to it. So I believe he's putting the truck Norris cam in it, so it should have a good load to it. But we'll pull that out next, and then you know, I know I've probably said it in the last video or the last couple videos. So once the motor's out, like we're gonna paint the trans mount. We're just gonna do that in 2-in-1. We're gonna paint the new engine mount. Again, just 2-in-1. And then we're gonna clean up. Like these bars that the floor welds to. We're gonna clean them up, POR 15 them, and then we're gonna POR 15 as much of the frame as we can get to while the floor is out. Because once the floor is in, you're not gonna be able to get to like the top section of the frame anywhere. So we're gonna get all that POR 15'd before I actually put the floor in. Now we're gonna POR 15 this whole frame. But I wanna get all the body work and get it body worked and primed before we do the whole frame. Because that's a lot of dust and everything. I don't want to make this whole frame look brand new, and then you do all this dusty work, and then the frame's trashed. You know, you can blow it off, you can wipe it down, whatever, but all the nooks and crannies are going to be full of Bondo dust and body dust. So we're just going to get that little center section done for now, so that we can get the floor put in, and then once we get the floor in, and we're gonna pull the bed back off, and we're gonna start getting the truck all cleaned up, and start doing all the body work to the truck. So that's next after the floor, but gotta get the floor done first. So stay tuned. May not be back till after the motor's out and everything like that. You guys have, I believe you've seen the motor come in and out, or at least you got to see the 350 come out. Ain't much different than pulling this one. So I'll see you guys in a little bit. I'm out later. Bye.
Oh,